I had no idea at that point, and as I say, this is me, somebody here can correct me, that there had been a change in the leadership to what may be called the Northern Command. I did not know that happened. I just know that at that stage I was dealing with Adams in Belfast and McGuinness in Derry. I did not know that they had taken leadership of the Republican movement. I just thought that O'Brien in this stage was out, McKee was out, and various other people was out. So at that particular stage, I was limited to a situation. And that's how I wanted it.
Just explain to the audience how it happened. You spoke to Donald, or Donald spoke to you. You then spoke to Martin McGuinness in Derry, and Martin McGuinness spoke to Terry Adams in Belfast. What way did it work?
Well, I don't want to be just as precise as you're putting it. Donald spoke to me.
Yeah.
Everywhere, all the time, right from 9 in the morning to 10 at night.
This is in 1981. This
in
is
1981.
As Joe Donald is very ill at this stage.
Is very, very ill at this stage. So basically, it became clear that the hunger strikes were not going to be resolved. The other thing I might say, and I have no evidence whatsoever of this other than experience, we now know, right now, that the amount of electronic surveillance, the amount of bugging, the amount of situation available, it may not be as sophisticated as it is now, but none of us in this room in 1981 would have known that you could put a device in a car and track a bicycle up and tell you that it's up is in the Mourne Mountains. We didn't know those type of things. And those type of things were there. So I would suspect that the British government at that time had an insight not only to the dialogue in the prisons, but dialogue in the very intimate areas in which the Republican movement was working day by day. I have no idea whether that's true or not. I would firmly believe that that's one of the areas they had. As well as that, they had all the telephones coming in and out, tapped. So the notion of me talking to you and you talking to this lady in the front and her talking to Danny Morrison and so forth, without all of that being known, we didn't understand that in those days.
The argument is about the offer. Would you just explain to the audience how the offer was communicated?
Well, first of all, the reason I've told you this particular situation was that when I was speaking in Derry, the journalist Liam Clark produced a piece of paper. And that piece of paper was a genuine assessment, written down, of what was on offer in the last moments of
July
the very last moment.
You agreed with Liam Clark of that document through Freedom of Information. You agreed with the detail of the document.
I agreed immediately with the detail of the point. But the point was that document was never in print. There were no written communications between the British government and me, none whatsoever. So when this document appeared like this, it looked very, very positive and very correct at that time. But in actual fact, it was not in existence. Nobody ever handed that document to me, and I never handed it to Adams or McGuinness or anyone else.
You wrote it down when Donald?
Yes, I wrote it down. But the point is, and this is quite difficult to take on board, if that document had it been in print and handed over, then that document would have become public. There may have been a much greater opportunity of solving it. But if we then go back to what happened in the first hunger strikes, when in actual fact everybody thought that this thing was under control, we were heading, as we saw it at that particular time, for a repeat of that, because the British made it absolutely clear that any leakage of this situation in any shape, form or fashion would end the dialogue.
So you scribbled the offer down.
Yes.
You then communicated to the Republican leadership.
Yes.
I think your sort of test, which is to get someone into the prison on the Sunday, into the prison on Sunday to outline the offer. What has he got to bring into the prison?
Well, I want to say this to you. What I was saying is this here. I was saying the Republicans do not want these hunger strikes. The notion that they want 20, 10, 5, 8, 6 people to die is as long as you won't talk to them and you won't dialogue with them and whatever, and the person that I wanted to get in with respect to you, Mr. Morrison, was Jerry Adams. And they said, no way is Adams going to. Right? So you'll not be offended, you were second choice. Right? So I considered a positive way forward to get Danny Morrison to do it. And I was also totally happy that you were well aware of what was being said and what was offered and so forth. So getting Danny Morrison in was, in my book, a major, major step forward. And at that particular point of time, the real difficulty was that this particular written piece of paper, and I'd like maybe some of the scholars in the audience to try and find out when the British deposited that. And I think that would be quite important, because if they deposited, say, on the 28th of July, or at this time when it was watercoloured, then I would be asking why, if it was there, why could they not have put it through? And it was equally the first time that I knew that Thatcher was on board, because the British always kept a wall down. She was not talking to anybody, she was not doing anything, and she didn't want anything to do with it. And remind me to say something else about that in a moment. So Danny Morrison went in, and I thought that...
with the outline of the offer that you had communicated to the Republican leadership.
The Republican leadership had the detail of the offer.
Yes.
There's no argument about that. But what they didn't have...
What did you do? Did you give Martin McGuinness your role?
That doesn't matter. I'm telling you that the Republican leadership had the detail of that offer, and at that particular point, that offer was available to go into the prison and whatever. But what was not available at that time
You made that clear as a document. The document is not clear. The document is not available.
Didn't exist. I didn't see it at the time.
But when you scribbled the offer, man, you're sitting there in
Didn't
your house.
I wrote it very carefully.
You wrote it very carefully.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, when you wrote the offer down very carefully,
Yes.
in your house in
Yeah, but
in July
Yeah, but
1981.
you don't take chances like
No,
that.
but that's fine. But so you're reading it
Yes.
in your own head.
Yes.
Do you think it's good enough? This is it. This will break us. This will get us through. This is it. Should it have been good enough? Is what I'm asking.
I'm not a member of the Republican movement. I'm not a member of the IRA. I have the very moment that I would cross the line as to what I believe I was finished. I'm putting it bluntly and with the greatest respect, and I hope this is not misheard. My primary objective was to get past the hunger strikes and get dialogue going so that we could have a settlement of the war. It was not my job, or not my role, or not whatever. Now, having said that, if you know me, I would settle every dispute for half the price.